Everyone. Welcome to our restream. We are coming live to you right now on Facebook and YouTube from C&T's. And today I have the amazing Timna Tarr. She is a quilt designer and an artist, and she has 5 new classes on C&T's learning platform, Creative Spark. So welcome, Timna.
Thanks,
So
Sophie.
excited to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Now, for those of you who might follow Creative Spark or have taken the quilting hour, Timna was actually a guest on one of the episodes on map quilts, and you have a class on that as well, correct?
I do. I love making maps. Map quilts. No one wants to make a real map. So it's a class where you can take a paper map of a place that you love and turn it into a quilt. So we have little ones if you want to do a small one, or you can do a large one, whatever's work is for you.
And here I've got a couple examples in case you're not familiar with her work. So here's one of them. So this is this is a bunch of different techniques. Is this, I can't remember, is this one of the ones from the class? Is this kind of the example?
Yeah, it's an example from the class.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's appliqué, and the river there is appliqué, and then the roads are a bias tape technique.
Yeah. And I've watched it and it is really good. Like I am not a really great appliquer, but I felt really empowered that I could easily do this. And I like that you had like small maps and large maps, like a variety of places to go.
No, yeah, and you'll also learn in the class exactly where I live and what I'm obsessed with. So if you really want to know about South Hadley, Massachusetts, you're in good shape.
I do. And here is another map that has like just a little different, totally different look. That's what was kind of exciting too when I started kind of poking around and getting to watch some of your content.
Yeah, this one is appliqué as well. So you can also fuse it. So if you're not an appliqué person, you can stick it down and move on that way. So you don't need to be intimidated by it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is these are just a couple examples. Of course, we have lots of examples. And speaking of that, I'm going to put up a link to all of Timna's classes that we're going to be talking about. And if you have a question or a comment or an idea, please throw it in our chat. We'd love to hear from you. And we are here to answer questions. So right now I just stuck up in the chat, I put the link to Timna's instructor page, and there you'll see all 5 courses on there. But I can put up some links if someone needs one directly to a specific class as well. But to keep it simple, that is the main one to get to all of the classes we're going to chat about. So in addition, I'm going to take this guy down. In addition to the maps, one of the things that Timna is really known for is mosaic quilts. Is that how you, is that the terminology? Am I doing that?
I use the word stitched mosaics because then people know it's like sewing.
Yeah. Okay. So it's stitched mosaic. And again, I've been lucky enough to get to watch these classes as they've come up on the platform. And
this is better or worse. You get to
no, for better. They're really good. The thing is, so this is actually Tim has a book. It's not with C&T, but you can get her book. I think later this summer. I want to say.
Yeah, August it'll be out.
Yeah, and on this subject matter as well. But it's so great to see, like, you doing it in person.
Right. Yeah. Because when you look at paper, sometimes you have like a little bitty question that you don't know exactly how that corner folds or whatever.
Yeah.
So this kind of solves
you're like
that problem.
Up close seeing it. So I'm going to show you an example. And will you give me the story behind this example here?
Yeah. So this is my cousin's daughter. So my young cousin, and my grandmother showed me the photo. I couldn't stop laughing. So I called my cousin and said, can I make a quilt of his daughter? So there we go. I didn't know how to do it, but I'm a block-based quilter. So I knew I could grid off a photo and just work with a little block within each photo.
Yeah. And you had like some inspiration. It was from a different type of artist. Is that, am I remembering?
Oh yeah, Chuck Close's work.
Yeah.
He was kind of a terrible person, but a great artist.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time looking at his work. And like artists throughout time use visible grids. I mean, they use grids for their artwork and then they hide it, when they're finishing their work. But Chuck Close keeps the grid visible. And that was really inspirational for me to keep this
Yeah.
visible.
Now, this one looks like, you know, this looks a little complicated, but then I'm gonna say you have a couple that are really like this one seemed a little more simple. I'm gonna say maybe it's not. Maybe it's just as hard as the other one. I don't know.
Much more simple. And
Yeah.
I will tell you, my daughter, when I was filming the class, she had made it her own video of it, and she was like, "You should start with this girl, and then after you sort all your fabrics, a year later, you're just gonna make a white a chicken." Like she pretty much had it down.
Wow, that's so funny. I love that. I love how our kids are so insightful about us sometimes.
Yes.
So, but then there's also this is the one that is the example in the class, um, and is kind of you kind of do some step outs and show how to kind of make this all happen. So,
Yeah, and this is a great one to start with. It gives you everything you need to know to do a complicated one. But this one, you're not worried about the colors. You just a blue flower, white background, sew it together.
yeah. Yeah, they're fabulous and very popular. The moment we stuck an email out about this, all of Timna's classes, this one was one that people were really excited about. I mean, they were excited about all of them, but that one with people were pretty pumped about. So now the other one I noticed like a lot of people are excited about was one that's called Oh Happy Day. And this one,
This
I
is a
also
happy
was
day.
able there we go, it's behind. I also was able to watch. And will you give us a little background on this one?
Yeah, so this is how to applique circles. It's very much a technique, very traditional techniques, but I also show how to take these really traditional applique techniques and modernize them a little bit with the color and your fabric choices and how you lay it out.
Yeah. And there's definitely what I loved is like you really doing step outs on each of those techniques. And then there's a great part of this class where you show all of this like circles like kind of done different ways, like laid out, and then
Right,
also quilt it. It's so good. It makes you think like, okay, how do I want the finished product to come out?
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's a technique. Well, I'll tell you this quilt right here next to me.
And let me put
I was doing this class, and last week I found these grandma's flower garden blocks, and I was like, oh, I can take that circle technique and make it into a quilt without having to put all those hexagons together. So the class really inspired me this week.
oh my gosh. Okay, so you use the bigger white circles are the applique on, and then the hexy flowers
They
go in the
were
middle.
antique hexing with the white edges, and
Yeah.
I just cut the circle out, turned it, used the pillowcase technique with the single-sided fusible, turned it inside out, and stuck it to the back.
I love it. So I love that thinking outside the box on how to do these circles. And then here's another one, which is again, it's not like as traditional as the circle in the block ones, but they're eggs. There seems to be a theme here with the chicken and the egg.
I really like chickens and
I
eggs.
like chickens too. I love this one. So, what made you think about doing this quilt?
I was sitting in a meeting and doodling, and I drew an oval, then I drew circles, and I was like, an egg quilt. I can make an egg quilt. It's just a circle quilt. But
I love that. Now, one of the cool things, when you're having your own ideas out there, and I'm going to pull this down, is that in each of Timna's classes, she added a special module. Not all of our classes have this, but like where you can get some direct feedback on various things, kind of more appropriate to that class. But really, it could be anything you're really curious about that has to do with that. And so it allows you to upload a photo or photos into this module, and then Timna gets it flies over to her email box And then she'll get it and she'll be able to give you feedback. And what are some of the things, like some of the classes that you think will need the most feedback, or that you would encourage people to reach out?
Yeah, like stitched mosaics. If people want to send me a photo and say, is this going to work for this technique? I'm happy to answer those questions. Um, Color choices. Yeah, and I'll answer any question you ask me. It can be about anything, like
Yeah.
what are you having for dinner? I'll answer it. But mostly it's photos and maps. Like, is this map going to work?
Yeah, that would be that would be a really good one. Or like sometimes the maps can be really overwhelming, like how to pare it down, maybe
Exactly.
even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you can always also ask things throughout the whole course in the discussion rooms. But it's kind of nice to have this the little difference between that one module is no one else sees what you post. Like it just goes directly to Timna. And so it's a little more private if you're somebody who's like, I don't want everyone to see what I'm doing. So
Right.
I'm a sharer, but okay, now Timna has two other classes. One of them is called Strung Along, which I love that name. And here's an example. So tell me about Strung Along, and I've got a couple pictures too, including some little blocks.
Yes, the strung along is a basic string quilting class, and many of us know how to make string quilts. But what I focus on in this class is not just the construction of it, but how to think about color and layout and design. So it doesn't look like a standard string quilt. You can really play with the color and make it your own.
I love that. Now, here's another one where it's more, they're not really all solids, but they have a little more of a solid look to them, I would say, the fabrics, but maybe.
Yeah, I had been on on an artist retreat in the Bahamas, and I came back, and it's hard for me to limit a color palette, but I purposely curated the color palette to be Bahamian.
I love it. It is mission accomplished. And then I love this picture because can you tell me a little bit about this? Like, is this just a process picture, or do you make these little squares like all the time and then piece them together, or what do you do with them?
No, this was for one specific quilt. I find string quilts are really messy when I'm working on them, so I do it all at once, and then I have to clean my studio before I can work on something else. But I make each little block and I just stick them in the shoebox until I've made as many as I can stand making, and then I sew them together. And that's how my quilt is.
So there you go. This is a before it all comes together photo. So awesome. Okay, so now there's one more of the 5 classes, and that one is the strip sandwich improv quilting. Yeah, that's what we call it. Sorry, it's more to that name. Okay,
but it's a really simple construction process in that you take a square and put a strip in it. But again, it's much like the string class in that I'm talking about color and design and layout. And this is a good class if you have never done any improv. This is like a really easy way to kind of start the improv process without getting overwhelmed.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, every class, this is one of the things I love about Timna's classes. All your things look fabulous, and every single one I'm like, yep, I think I could take that on. And I am not a very experienced quilter, so for those of you who don't know that, so I really love that. And I love that here you have a lot of prints, because sometimes in improv, I feel like we see a lot of solids.
Yeah, well, I'm a print kind of gal, so yeah, I want to use prints.
I love that. And I think that's all I have for examples today, but there's tons. And then there's more pictures on the site, and hopefully everyone saw. I'm going to put the link in one more time, just in case you didn't see my link go in earlier. But there you go. And then, yeah, so you can check them out. I think that Timna did a really great job at putting the information together, presenting it really clearly and effectively. And then also, they have a great price point on them. So I hope you all get to check that out as well. Anything else, Susie, that you want to chat about, or are you excited about? Or
I have quilts at the Texas Quilt Museum starting next week, I think. Soon,
wow.
Very soon, for the summer.
For the whole summer?
Yeah,
And now are they all are they different one technique or are they lots of different techniques?
they're my Noble Menagerie series, which is 12 animals using the stitch mosaics technique. So they're all going to be together.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. Please
Yeah,
post about it as soon as it's up and going,
I
and
know, I'm excited.
we will repost if you send it to us so that everybody at C&T's um, group can see it. So we would love to see that as well. And we're again super excited to have you as on part of the platform. I loved what Timna had to say. If you haven't seen the oh, by the way, you can also get the recording of the conversation that she had with Lee Chapel Monroe and the Quilting Hour. That was with Valerie Goodwin, who has also a map course up, but totally different styles. So that's what's so cool. So if you're into math, you're gonna need them both at some point. But um, but anyways, start with one, move to another. But yeah, so if you want to see that conversation, actually I have a link for that too, and I will put that up. Anyone have any questions for us before we sign on off? We'd love to answer them. And otherwise, we will see you hopefully soon. I think we have some other restreams coming down the line in the next couple weeks. But thanks, Timna, for joining us today.
Thanks, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, we'll see you later. Have a great day, everyone.